Hello and welcome to the Marketing One podcast. I'm your host, Anusha Khannan, and it is great to have you here. Are you looking to move into marketing or want to learn marketing from scratch? We discuss all things marketing, analytics, business, personal branding, AI, and much more in a way any layman can understand. If you're new here, make sure to follow along and get on that email list by visiting anushakhannan.com/email list to receive newsletters from me twice weekly. Follow at Anusha Ramesh Khannan on TikTok. Tag us on your stories. Would love to see that. And now let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode. So today's topic is a bit of a deep dive, but stick with me because it's super relevant. And we're talking about how AI can shape who brands think we are as customers. Like, what exactly is the ideal, quote unquote, ideal customer? And is it even accurate? If you guys didn't know, I do love talking about AI. Obviously, everybody has to talk about AI now. But I want to talk about this particular topic because I've been researching a little bit on that. So here's what I'm noticing. AI has seriously transformed customer profiling, and now companies can analyze all this data to figure out what we like, when we buy, and probably even how much coffee we drink, right? But according to McKinsey, around 70% of companies use AI to figure out customer preferences and build engagement. I mean, as they should. If you're not doing that, well, you're really behind, right? If you're curious about the details, I have the link to that one in the description. Check it out. But the problem here that I want to talk about is AI can also get a little narrow-minded. When AI hones in on patterns, it can unintentionally reinforce certain behaviors while ignoring others, which could give brands a narrow view of what their ideal customer looks like. This might make us wonder, is it inclusive or is it just reinforcing the same customer behaviors over and over? So as you guys know, I was a business analyst before and I've worked with customer data, and intentions have usually been, let's look at the past data to predict what they might do next. And that's not exactly the same thing, but kind of the same thing, using AI to kind of understand ideal customer profile. But then again, what if it's not inclusive? Now, here's the deal with ideal customer profile, or if you want to say ICP to sound fancy. In theory, it's supposed to help brands narrow down the best customers. But when AI steps in, it can get a bit tunnel visioned. Like, if it sees that the most purchases come from 20, 30-year-olds in big cities, it might just start targeting those people more and more. And in a way, that's limiting. Hey, just a quick second. If you're into these kinds of topics, AI topics, I've been doing TikToks where I break this stuff down in short videos. You can check them out through the link in the episode description if you're interested. Let's get back into the episode. So how do we keep AI from narrowing things down too much? One way is to bring diversity into the data. So make sure it's not all one type of demographic. A report from Accenture calls this ethical AI, basically AI that doesn't just target the same customer over and over, but considers a range of backgrounds, ages, and preferences. So here are some tips for brands using AI without narrowing profiles. The first thing is widen the data pool. Train AI with data from a mix of ages, backgrounds, and preferences. Second thing is do regular audits. Check your AI patterns frequently to make sure you're not unintentionally excluding any groups. Third thing is use continuous feedback. Get input from a diverse group of customers to make sure AI profiles are on point. I think one of the most important things to remember here is AI is a tool. It's not a decider. Just because it says, hey, this is your ideal customer, does not mean it's got it 100% right. There's a lot happening behind the scenes that can shape these recommendations. So if you're curious to know how this actually works, stick around because for the next couple of minutes, I'm diving into the mechanics of how AI really profiles customers and why it's important to understand its limitations. I will also be talking about this on my Thursday newsletter, so if you haven't signed up, go ahead and do that because I'm thinking we need to have more AI-based conversations. All right, so let's break down the actual mechanics of how AI models profile and shape the concept of the ideal customer. First things first, data collection. AI systems first gather data from various sources like customer purchases, website visits, social media interactions, and demographics. This data often comes from CRM systems, ad performance metrics, and even third-party data sources, which means it's creating a rich data set that represents customer behaviors. In industries like e-commerce and digital media, companies use data lakes to combine these data points creating a single view of each customer profile. Again, it's called data lakes. All right, so now we have the data. What's the next step? Pattern recognition. So once the data is collected, AI models analyze it to find patterns. These patterns might reveal that certain types of customers, for example, let's say people aged 25 to 30 in urban areas, are more likely to make frequent purchases, have a higher average order value, or respond well to certain messages. According to McKinsey, advanced models use machine learning to identify segments, and then generative AI can even predict customer needs before they're even expressed. Okay, 2 down, 3 more to go. The third thing is segmentation and scoring. Now we have the data, we've recognized the pattern, and then we're going to segment them. So based on identified patterns, AI assigns scores, or we call it segments. So it basically segments customers into categories. This can include segmenting by demographic, like age or location, or behavior, like purchase history, browsing behavior. The model often ranks customers by engagement potential or likelihood to convert. That's really interesting, but hold on a second. I've got something just as exciting to share with you. Elevator Gazette is your go-to newsletter for elevating both your personal and professional life. Every Sunday, get tips on achieving balance and personal growth. Every Thursday, receive career advice, marketing strategies, and professional development insights, and much more. Plus, stay updated with the latest from my podcasts and much more. Join my newsletter today at anushakan.com/email list and start elevating your journey. Let's get back into the show. This ranking helps companies focus on high-value customers, like quote-unquote high-value customers, but it can also lead to bias if certain groups aren't well represented in the data. 3 down, 2 more to go. The fourth one is dynamic updates. AI model continuously learns and updates as new data comes in. This is great for adjusting to shifting trends in real time, but it can also reinforce certain patterns that may exclude diverse customer behaviors. For example, if an AI model finds that most high-value customers are within a particular demographic, it might deprioritize data on emerging customer groups that don't yet fit into the established profile, which means it's creating a feedback loop. Now, the last one, which is creating the ideal customer profile. So finally, using all these other segments and scores, AI helps brand build a picture of the ideal customer, which can guide marketing, product design, and content strategies. While these insights are really valuable, there's a risk of oversimplifying or stereotyping customers if they don't account for a range of perspectives and behaviors. So in short, AI identifies trends, segments customers, and updates continuously. But it's important for brands to remember that these insights are only as good as the data and the inclusivity built into the model. Okay, we've talked a lot today, but I want you to imagine, because this example might help illustrate how AI actually works to create an ideal customer profile. So imagine you are a company that is selling project management software to other businesses. Your goal here is to find companies that are most likely to buy and benefit from your software. Here's how AI would step in to create that quote-unquote ideal customer profile. First up, it's going to start by pulling data from all companies that have shown interest in or purchased your software. This includes company size, industry, budget, purchasing history, and even specific pain points that they've mentioned. For example, let's say that their pain point is managing large remote teams. Secondly, it's going to find patterns. So it's going to find common characteristics amongst your most successful clients. Let's say that it notices that mid-sized tech companies with remote workforces and a need for collaboration tools are the top buyers. Third, it's going to suggest an ICP. It's going to say that your ideal customer as a tech company with 50 to 200 employees, a primarily remote workforce, and a need for enhanced project tracking. AI might even go further to score potential customers based on how closely they fit this profile. Imagine AI creating clusters of companies on a virtual map, almost like a series of circles or bubbles. Each cluster represents a group of companies with shared traits. Say all those mid-sized tech companies that work remotely and need strong project management tools. AI looks at these clusters and then zeroes in, analyzes how closely each company in the cluster fits the ideal customer profile. Now, picture the AI drawing darker small circles within these clusters. showing companies that almost align with your best customer traits. The companies at the very center are the most aligned, while those on the outer edge might be a bit different. Then AI scores each company based on how closely they fall to the center of that ideal profile, essentially ranking them by fit. Lastly, it has to update, right? It's given you your ICP, now it has to update as you give it new data. Now AI refines this profile. If it notices that other industries like marketing agency are also frequently purchasing, it could expand the ICP to include those companies, making sure that it stays relevant over time. In this case, AI doesn't just give you ideal customer profile, but it dynamically adapts, allowing your outreach to evolve. Now here's where things get tricky, because AI clusters companies based on patterns it's seen in the past, which means it can miss new or emerging customer types that don't fit the mold perfectly. Say there's an innovative company in a different industry or a smaller startup that's a perfect fit for your product, but because they're on the edge of the cluster or maybe even outside of it entirely, they might get overlooked or even scored lower by the AI. So while AI helps us focus on what's likely to work, it's also at risk for reinforcing biases. For instance, if your AI is trained mostly on tech companies, it might prioritize that industry, missing out on marketing agencies or creative firms that could also benefit from your software. This lack of inclusivity can limit your outreach and prevent you from expanding into new markets. And here it goes once again. Just because AI says that this is your ICP does not mean it's got it 100% right. That's why it's essential, super important to keep human judgment in the loop. And AI should just guide our approach, but it should not be the sole decider of who we reach out to or how we define our ICP. And that's a wrap on today's episode. AI is definitely helping us understand customer profiles in ways we couldn't have imagined a few years ago, but it's always good to remember the limitations. It's a tool. Again, it's not the final word. Sometimes it takes stepping back and adding a bit of human judgment and asking, is this really who we're trying to reach? But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I do love talking about this. Let me know if you like it. If you found this interesting, make sure to check out my TikTok where I break down basic AI topics in a quick, easy to digest videos. Links in the description of the episode. And yeah, that's it for today. Hope you found it useful. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or email me at anusha@anushakanan.com. Follow me on LinkedIn to never miss my journey, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.